I just wanted to do a video, lads, on the fact that Irish people have been forgotten as a whole. It's really sad to see how our own country has forgotten about our own people. For so long, our own people have been put behind. We've been put behind every line, whether it comes to the queues in the dole office. Say a normal Irish person who's struggling, to get by, and they have some issues that are after coming into their life. Say they're after getting ill, or they're after getting an illness, which caused them to be off work for a while. Or even, in turn, they've actually, just not being able to find work and have struggled to be able to get it, together, because things happen in people's lives. But there's no understanding when that occurs with an Irish person. The only understanding that happens is when it's someone who's non-Irish that are understood by the local authorities all over Ireland, whether it be the council authorities, government, of course, authorities, which are also the council authorities, even the HSE in this country. There's so many Irish people that are put last on the lists. Say even the hospital lists. Irish people have just been forgotten about, because what happens is you have these people who've come in under the guise of international protection, even though they're not really supposed to be even here. None of them people are supposed to be here. None of these absolute vultures are meant to be here, picking at the bread in this country, picking at everything at their disposal. Whether it be the financial services, whether it be our health services, they are here to pick and scrub everything away from what we have. And there's milk and honey, and the milk and honey train keeps running. It keeps running by. And people think it's going to last forever. There's going to be a time where the milk and honey train is going to end. There's going to be no more milk and honey. We're just going to be left with a lot of angry people who hated the country in the first place. The only thing that's kind of keeping them quieter at the moment is the fact that they're taking advantage and taking so much from our system that they're happy at the moment with the way things are. But wait until they have nothing. And then what they'll do is they'll be adamant. They'll be say, I'm staying here for me benefits. I'm staying here. I'm going to stay here no matter what. Then there's going to be a reckoning, a disposal, because there's going to be a lot of Irish people who would normally look down at their own people's situations. They'd look down their noses, look down at people, and forget about situations that our own people are in, and, make themselves all to be presumptuous, haughty-taughty, looking down on people. That's the reality. That's a lot of people in Ireland. They look down on each other, and they don't care about the situation. Where there are all these men moving into migrant shelters, these IPAS centres built rapidly for them in places like Athlone, New Mount Kennedy, towns like that. We have asylum centres going up in Clonmel, asylum centres in Wexford, Ireland, in Rosslare. We have some going up in Waterford City, in former pubs, former hotel areas, and former areas where people used to have a great time. Irish people used to always socialise. A lot of these places that were our hubs of culture are now being turned into hubs of hell. And it's the hell that these anti-Irish government and the anti-Irish people that they bring in, led by, of course, the Zog machine. And the Zog machine leads it all. The Zulu Janemba, as they're called. I have to keep it within that kind of grounds and abbreviation wise. But what has to be said is there is a Zionist movement in Ireland that was started by a minister in 2011, Alan Shatter, who was elected into office, Sir Fine Gael, where a lot of haughty-taughty look down their noses at people Irish, elected this fella. Now, he wasn't baptised. He wasn't an actual homegrown true Irish man or true Irish woman. He was literally the Zionist agenda beginner, really. He began the agenda for the Zionists to take control, the Zionistas to take control of our land and to make the main decisions in Brussels and Strasbourg, where the likes of von der Leyen, who's also one of them, makes fundamentally the big decisions that affect Ireland's culture and our own population and our own people. Our own people are oblivious to this. They don't research these things. They don't realise the fact that the building in Brussels is just like the Tower of Babylon. And of course, if you know the Bible story in the Tower of Babylon, a lot of people, they began to say to themselves, they were all speaking the same language at the time. Now, everyone once, apparently, according to the Bible, spoke the same language. And they all got together and tried to build the Tower to Heaven, Tower of Babylon. And that was knocked apart to disperse people, you know, to obviously, because people got too cute and they were dispersed. And that's why we have all these different languages. But the reason the EU is building is exactly the same premise and the same design as in the Bible story of Babylon. It's because their goal is to make every EU country exactly the same. So you won't be able to distinguish between one culture or another. Except, of course, if you go to Africa, or if you go to India, or if you go to Southern Asian countries, then you'll know what a country and a culture is actually meant to be. Although their cultures are nothing to shout about, or nothing to write home about. They are left alone to their own devices. But of course, they're adamant on changing our culture in our country. We have to put up with their types in our country. We have to put up with them. We have to go by this DEI nonsense, which in turn leads to a mental fracture of people. A fracture of the mind, as they call it. The mind virus, which ends up actually affecting fundamentally everything about a person's inner confidence to actually love their own culture and country. Well, I say the Irish must love their own culture and their country, because if we don't love it, who else will? It's our job to stand by our country, make sure our country prevails for the future. We need to realise the enemies in our country. We need to realise who the real enemy is. And who the real enemy is that's dictating the current system that's in place. Ireland's only real way out of it, and I'd have to say it, is to ultimately leave the EU. Our exit. We have to make our own decisions. We've sold out all our natural resources, our fisheries, our minerals. We sold out our own people, which is a resource in itself. We are the resource for this country to prevail and prosper. And a lot of people are okay with letting their own children get sold down the line. Their own people, their own grandparents, their own family be sold down the line. Well, it's not good enough. Ireland must be for Ireland, and Ireland must be for our own people. Because if we don't do this for our own people, our own country, we're going to be left ruined the day where it's too late to actually do anything about it. Because that day will come. If nothing is done in the present time, and stuff doesn't start moving, and stuff doesn't start happening, we will be left ruined the day. And there won't be any way to come back unless we start making tough choices, big decisions. But they're not really tough, because they're choices that are for our country, and choices that are going to actually benefit our own people. Our own people are going to be benefited greatly if we start looking after each other and looking out for each other. Just like Irish people did in the old days, just like my own grandparents would have told me. Irish people were once all for each other. That has rapidly changed. But we need to bring that back as a people together and all. Because it's our freedom that's on the line. Thank you, and subscribe to the Irish Citizens Movement. Thank you.